want to finish the Sicha from your A, from Tavshin Yod, the early years. So let's bring up the text. Holding Sif to S. This idea that one has to learn, and one should learn Torah, especially the Torah of the Siddur of the Rebbe, without any valid calculations, meaning to say, even not to sit there and check yourself, examine yourself exactly where you're holding, etc. Not to be so careful about if I'm worthy, I'm not worthy, where am I holding, it's inappropriate, etc. Even the source of light will bring a person hopefully back to Yiddishkeit. Will bring surely back to Yiddishkeit. That's with regard to the godly soul. The godly soul is not going to get lost, and Hashem is going to take care of it. The Sefer loss is true, and eventually the person who is a full person is going to do tshuva. And the Torah is going to come back with you. Sorry. It's not enough. You have to transform your animal soul to holiness. That's why we read this parsha, the week that we read about making evaluations. Like we learned before in the beginning of the talk about if the signs are a siman or a siba. It means, does it show that this makes it kosher, or is it a sign why it's kosher? These are the behemoths, these are the animals that you eat, the ones that have the two signs. Primarily, that shows that if you're able to eat this animal, means is that's how you take a behemoth and make it kosher, which means your nefesh bahamis, your animal soul, make it kosher. Like the Rebbe explains, there's two types of animals. Is it considered a pure animal, meaning what we call kosher animal, like the cows, sheep, etc. Or tmeas, the animals that are not kosher, you can't eat them: horses, donkeys, camels. Never the Torah tells us exactly. The Torah tells us about the two types. Sheken gava and hoga be Torah. Yechalias behemoth tmea. Because even Torah talks about it. Torah says there could be a person. That's how he's talking about the idea. How the behemoth is referring to the nefesh bahamis. There could be a person that his or her behemoth tameh is impure. It could be an abomination, an avela, so to say. Even according to Torah. You think Torah is saying I can behave this way? Torah is telling me I can behave this way. Primarily, he says you have an obligation to be holy. And if you're not going to be holy, you can say, wait a minute, Torah doesn't say I can't do this. Okay, fine. So that's called an avela, an abomination versus a Torah. That's one of the more important things, is the kedushin to you, be holy. So you have a behemoth. You have to check, okay, I have nefesh bahamis, but is this considered a tahor, a pure behemoth, or an impure behemoth? So the Torah says there's two signs that you could see if this animal, the animal within you, is able to be elevated, to be edible, or is it not? Mefarsa says parsa, it has the split hooves. My alligator shoots cuts. Simanim akshurim v'ad shepoel matar. So like we said in the beginning, it's mashma, according to most opinions, that this makes it permissible. A tahara, a pure animal, what we call a kosher animal, is if it has split hooves. It's not that it's a siman, it's a sign. What does this mean? Because the Rebbe is saying these two signs are a sign of how, if you're a tahara behemoth, nefesh bahamis, you have a tameh nefesh bahamis. The Rebbe explains, there is a difference between the head of an animal and the feet of an animal, although you say the reason why an animal walks on all four is because primarily there's not major difference. It's a kind of difference between the Adam, which is standing on 2 feet, which their brain is totally above their torso and body. Okay, moving on. It talks about the laws of Trefus, about certain things. That says that the feet are what's closest to the ground, of course, an animal. What does this mean in the animal soul? The idea is that only your feet, yes, you have to be out in the world, and the nefesh bahamis is primarily the part of you that's out in the world. But it's only your regel, it's only your mice, it's only action that's in the gashmi. It's not your head, not your desire. artsy and world things. Only as much as is required. But your elevated self, your elevated strength, Rosh, your head, even if the nefesh b'hamis ain't tzrichim liyas menachem minyani arsim. Like he says, that's a level of b'shus Torah. Once the Torah says you can do it, yes. Saying, but that's not what you should be koching in. It means parnas and these things are important to feed your family and to be able to do things in Yiddishkeit and to be able to, like the Rebbe says, mahadir b'mitzvahs, when you give the bracha and Shabbos truma to give everyone ashiras. But but the world on its own for the sake of the world, that's not a place for you. That's the ma'aseh is you can be able to do Torah mitzvahs better. But there's Abim Rashab, the Rebbe says, Amar Pam, the Chabad Chassidus said once to a chassid, Tzir of Balkashonis, a chassid of form, meaning a chassid that worked on himself. Shehechnes zatzme mischer shel ardelayim, reglayim ardelayim reisi. Al reish ardelayim, I believe ardelayim is a type of footwear. So he said he began to the business of footwear, and he was so involved in his business. He says that people put their foot in their footwear. I understand, but what's your head doing there? Because that's what he preoccupied himself 24/7. That's what excited him. That's what he was thinking about every free time. How to enhance the business. I'm assuming. Even when you have a foot that's on the ground, so that's what it said. The animal has the feet on the ground. The feet are on the artzim thing. At the same time, there has to be a split hoof. Parsa. The olive, shinyani hefsek the helm. There has to be a separation even within the foot itself. Even your actions. It can't be totally given in. Even the action, even though we said action before is what you put yourself in, but even that is disconnected. Therefore, it has to be the hoof has to be totally split. From both sides. So you could show that not that you're just going to do the action in the world, but afterwards you're going to run back to yeshiva and the shul and you're going to go back into learning. But even the things that you're doing, you actually splitting hoofs allows that even when you're doing the worldly things, you're trying to bring out the Giliolikus revelation. Hashem Echad, God is one. You should see in the worldly things godliness. Not that you have to even do it, because then you're going to be able to have another 23 hours of free time. Like the Rebbe says in Tanya, you shouldn't separate yourself from the echad of Shema, of the truth, even when you're in worldly things. Aside from that, what's Malgater true in your cards? What is it true in your cards? That you choose the food then. So the idea is that anytime you get engaged in the world, don't just right away do it because you say, well, I have to do it. It's the worldly things. Chew it over a few times. Make sure this is taka necessary for you to do. Good either kind, Rebbe says in Yiddish. Chew it over well. Even is this the right thing for you to do and how to do it, what's the appropriate way to do it. When you're constantly on the ground only for Maisa things, your head is in holy things, but even in the ground, you're trying to figure out when the things that you're doing in the ground, you split your hooves to bring it to bring the oily key through the foot, so to say, into the world. And you chew it over to make sure this is the right thing that you're supposed to be doing. So then, then you can turn your nefesh bahamis into behemoth Torah, into a pure animal. Even though you have things you have to do, which is the behemoth shabo, you have the gashmis you have to engage in, eating, sleeping, other things that we do. Right? Intimacy is tiba oifen shel Torah, it's all Taras HaKodesh. But around the Sefer, Rebbe says an additional point. We find about a bird. Mean the birds that are kosher. It's not enough to have signs for a bird, although there are some sort of indications whether if it's too aggressive, etc. That's why some people don't eat turkey, because wild turkey is very aggressive. Therefore, our rule is that we don't eat bird unless there's mesiris, unless there's a tradition that we do eat it. That we know this is a good bird to eat. And a hunter or a person that's a slaughterer or catches the bird says, I can tell you that I have tradition that this bird is edible for a kosher person. He knows all the different birds, not all the birds are simple to know. But Ramas have a way to other. What does it mean that you have to have a Messiah that we learn from the birds in our Avodas Hashem? Messiah means that even though you say logically, why can I eat this? This is the same character as a chicken. Even a person opens the Shulchan Aruch, and also uses your mind to be very careful with Nimashur Sadin above the letter of the law. At the same time, you're in the abyss. You have to have the traditions of Torah. There's a concept of traditions. This is something that's very important, and it's been lost a little bit in our generation. There's some things people say, what do you mean? It doesn't say, what's this proof? There's certain things that we have a tradition, Dor after Dor, generation after generation, especially within the generations of Chassidim, of this is what we do and this is what we don't do. Gamu Lashim Mesirus Kashas, the Mesirus also means to be given over and to be connected. Skashas to be connected to the Rebbe, Rebbe Tzayid, Rebbe Sha'oisik, Batzos, and the Nefesh Yisrael, and the Rebbe who's a trustworthy hunter in Jewish souls. Ma'atzer Hayet, Be'atzer Yeser, he knows exactly when the Yetzirah is talking, when someone else is talking. But he knows how to identify. Every time it's a Yetzirah, it's a Tov. That's what you go to the Rebbe. So the Rebbe tells you this is what you have to do it. I even say, open the Shulchan Aruch, and it says maybe differently, or I have an okay from the Shulchan Aruch. It says you could be in the Shulchan Aruch, and you could be in the Vis. You have to have the Cyrus. Of course, you can open up the Chomer and say these are the birds. If it's not mentioned, I could eat it. You need to have tradition. Very, very important point. This is connection to the idea today. I'm giving you blessing and curse. C. Moshe says, every Moshe of our generation, the Rebbe, Nasi Adar, Shenikra Nechi, Kamay Nechi Shalamaila, Nechi Misha Nechi, the essence, the God's will and desire. Every person has the essence of their soul, the Yechidah Shabbenefesh, the fifth level, the highest level of the soul, which is the Nasi of that person. Just like that Nasi, Moshe says, Moshe is talking. And he calls himself a Nechi. Nechi is the highest term of the eye of Hashem, which is the highest level beyond, without any ice, without any chachma, in the level of Keser. And everyone has that anechi within them. You should see anechi. What does that mean? This is a very powerful ending the Rebbe has. The person says, "Okay, what's the Rebbe good for me? The Rebbe's going to give me blessings. The Rebbe's going to give me brachas. Brachas miskaimus, and then the bracha happens. Well, so worthy. The Rebbe gave me a bracha, and it happened. Tell the whole world." Now I want to connect to the Rebbe. I have a good story to tell about the Rebbe. I davened him and he gave me a bracha. I went to the oil and I had a bracha. Wow, miracles. What happens if something bad happens to you, God forbid? Because I say, what do you mean? I went to the oil, nothing happened. I went to the Rebbe didn't work out for me. So, and he starts saying, maybe it's not my Rebbe. Maybe it's not worth it. Which is Moshe Rabbeinu talking. And he's the Anoichi beyond any name. For every Yid who stands connected to Hashem, he puts in front of you both bracha and klal. It doesn't work one way. It's not only the brachas and the klalos. I don't know where that came from. If you're really connected to Moshe, it's one address for everything. You have to know when even something negative happens, you have to know that also is coming from the Rebbe. What does that mean? How could the Rebbe give bad? How could from Anoichi come the opposite of the bracha? The Rebbe says, so we could answer. Sometimes you need a little bit of the negative to be yotze, right? Talk about traditions. Tradition is when the glass breaks, you say mazel tov. Why? Because it's a sign that the glass broke, but there's a positive. Same thing over here. Could be the klala was just to get you out of a situation that could have been worse. One of the Rebbe says the idea is the Rebbe maybe wants that you should go to the oil. You've seen us pidyon right upon to the Rebbe. This mamash are talking about the early years. That's why we're learning these sichas, because the Rebbe is telling us how to behave today. Another way you go to the Rebbe, and you say, you speak to God through the Rebbe, that you accept God's judgment, even though it's negative. And by accepting God's judgment, you're over it. It's here, I get it, I'm taking it, I'm not arguing, then the moment passes instead of just sinking you. The bracha, so you should listen and try. When you're ready to accept upon yourself the negative, that's when you're open for the bracha. Now you're available for a bracha. Another third reason is one is that you should just be yotzei. The other one is is that you should be able to go to the Eibishter and tell him, I accept it. So now you got to know you by accepting it, the act of accepting itself makes you receptacle to bracha. Or the Rebbe says, there is no such thing as bad. Everything is good. It's a kind of good that we can understand. It's to expand the Torah that we learned. Even the curses are blessings. The old blessings, like Shimon Bar Yochai told his son when he thought that his Talmidim cursed him. The same as that, there's more than that. Brachas Nailus is such great brachas. They camouflage in what seems like a curse. The ayin hara and the the attribute of judgment says, this guy has he's nebach, he's a nebach. Doesn't realize that really is the Eibush and the Rebbe are working to make sure that you have everything you need. Because it's conscious of the Rebbe, they finishes off the Sicha. The next one we're going to learn is for Chai El. We'll start this week the Chai El Fabringen. The bottom line is, what's the bottom line of all this? That you have to know that everything comes from above. There's no such thing as halfway, that only good things come from the Rebbe, and the negative, I don't know where it comes from, or the Rebbe didn't do me what he should do for me. Everything comes from Aidei Rebbe. Every chassid, that's your connection to everything. Akol toiv, and everything is good. Azayim, by accepting that, like the Alter Rebbe says in Nefesh Hashveila, in Askil Chavina, Azayim havcha close the bracha b'poil, then you can transform the curses into blessing to be actual, revealed blessings. You see how the Rebbe is with you constantly, even more than when he was alive. And to the completion, the Rebbe, the Rebbe's here, Amen. May it peace be in that time. Okay, again, we just read through it. It's not letting these sichas deep, but just to give us koiches, especially now coming to Chai Shalom. Right, we're going to continue. Next class tomorrow, we'll do a Nilo Doidim.